What's up, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. I'd say it's about Prime. I'm gonna be here all day. Don't worry, you haven't laughed your last laugh quite yet. Real quick, I'm buying these up all off the internet. In case you don't know what this is an older IKEA dioder. It's a pretty cool light. It's meant for like inside drawers and stuff. Lasts for like 15 seconds. But the funny story to it is that I made it pretty well known that I was looking for those dioder light strips when they stopped making them. My buddy Adam, co-host of Nerd Rage Radio, link is in the description, got me a box of these for my birthday, thinking it was what I wanted, and it wasn't. But now I've been using them on my billies to light up my billies. Now I don't have enough of these to cover all the, so it's a whole thing. But I just got one in today, and I think I got another one coming tomorrow or today for you guys. So look, before we get started, I don't think there's really enough to do this properly quite yet, but I had so many people hitting me up to talk about these two primes, so we're gonna do like a little preliminary, and maybe we'll kind of track both and do an update as it goes on. So maybe this is a 1 of 3 or 1 of 4. I'm also thinking about doing a whole sit down Saturday talking about this Unique Toys Bruticus and the ups and downs of it. I'm looking through the comments. I'm not sure that a lot of people understand where I'm coming from with it. To reiterate, the Bruticus is good. It's a good Bruticus. It's not perfect, but it's really good. I am super disappointed in the set because I wanted them for robot, and the robots didn't turn out well, and the Bruticus is too small for my combiner collection, and it looks silly next to Devastator, so I'm in a pickle. But I'm thinking about doing a more in-depth kind of discussion about all of that. And the idea of buying things before you see, behind the curtain completely and all that kind of stuff. There's some interesting stuff to talk about there. But today, we do have to get on subject, and perhaps we did it just in the nick of prime. So it looks like we are faced with another 2 options, am I right? Let's talk about both, and then kind of talk about what that means for the MP line. But let's start with this third-party offering. So this is from Magic Square Toys, which I'm not sure if they've released anything yet. So that should be our issue number 1, is track record. We have nothing to compare it to. But let's talk about the good. I love the sculpt of this. I love how beefy he is. It may not be the most cartoon accurate in terms of how beefy he is, but I think a lot of us view Prime in that way. View Prime in the sense that he is of physical stature where not much would look like a threat to him in his weight class. Sometimes the cartoon represents him that way, and sometimes it doesn't. But I think a lot of us see Prime that way. I think because Prime was a hero for a lot of us as a kid, he was the father for a lot of latchkey kids in the 80s, I think a lot of us view Prime as larger than life. And I think this representation does a good job of driving that home. It's clean, it's still very cartoon based, but there's still just a little bit of nuance in line work. You can see it around the forearms, you can see it on the inner legs, even on the shin flaps, the angles around the ankle, around the chest. I think that sort of stuff ends up just making the figure overall look more interesting and maybe even more real. Back seems to clean up like a champ as well, and I love the bump out that remains, so to speak, that rectangular element in the center of his back. The truck looks great, doors open and such, that's fine, but it definitely looks the part. And size comparison with the Megatron, he seems to be just ever so slightly shorter, which I think a lot of people viewed also, that Megatron was more of the larger bot, but Prime was the one that looked like not to be trifled with. And I think that comes across here between the two. And now let's talk about the things that I find concerning. And one of those things are the proportions. Now I'm not sure that this is going to be an issue, but the pictures that are posed here with the elbows slightly bent already put the hands pretty low in proportion to the thighs. Now that's one of the issues I have with the MP10, is the proportions of arms to leg. And I'm not sure this fixed that problem. But I can't say for sure until I see pictures with the arms fully straightened. My second big concern is this pelvis. It looks to be on a single pin. I'm not sure that that's debatable. So that means in order to move the legs forward, you'll probably have to flip the entire waist flap up. Always makes a figure look silly if you try to get it in any sort of real pose. So that's something I find concerning as well. And then lastly, for the truck, and this is much more of a minor complaint, I am concerned with how big that bumper is. Something looks off about it to me. The truck looks a little skinny, and then it's got this big old bumper. Pull up to my bumper, baby. But overall, I think it looks great. There's just a number of X factors. One of which being, what is this company capable of building quality-wise? Because I don't think we really quite know yet. Unless this is a company that we've seen before under a different name. And then we finally got the reveal of the new Masterpiece Prime as well. And I feel like, correct me for a moment, I feel like this had a rollout, so to speak. I feel like this is the first Masterpiece reveal that had like a rollout to it. Like a promotional marketing campaign leading up to the reveal. Which is interesting, I'm not mad at it. But the news was everywhere. I mean, you might even say it always felt like it was prime time. but it's just funny to me. But when this hit, I mean, the pictures were everywhere. And we have to keep in mind with this that the pictures of this are like a cell phone picture taken of a screen. So it's not even an official picture yet. Knowing my luck, the official pictures will hit tomorrow, right as this video is being released, and make me look like a complete fool, you fool! I need to make that a thing. So we can't get too critical of this, but let's take a look at it as best we can. So it does fix the issues that I do have with MP10. Now these elbows are slightly bent as well, but I can tell by looking at it that the arm proportions are much better. It also fixes the proportions of thighs to legs. It also appears to be clean, and Takara's track record recently has been an overabundance of articulation, so I'm sure it's articulated as well. It's very cartoon reminiscent, and definitely reminds me more so of Transformers the movie Prime, even more than it does necessarily the regular show. I think the truck shape looks great as well. Like, I think the proportions of the truck really are nailed. Let's talk about the concerns. Once again, it's hard to get too much into them because of the lousy pictures that we have to deal with thus far. I am concerned with that hip flap as well. You will be able to individually articulate the legs, it seems, and adjust the hip flap as needed, but the hip flap does have a lot of line work going on, and it does tend to look like an angry beaver to me. The truck is awfully panely. However, like, I'm okay with taking sacrifices if that means to get a clean robot. And honestly, unfortunately, that's about all I can say about this right now, specifically. I would wish they would go ahead and release official images of the prototype, being as though the only thing that's flooding the market right now are these horrible cell phone pictures. You might say it's prime for some action. I do think that this is going to lead to a number of repaints, taking up time in marketplace and factory place, producing greens and purples and blacks and whites and pinks and who knows what else. So it doesn't necessarily excite me, but I think it looks good. It is interesting. I feel like that is really the only real G1 reveal we've gotten this year, and we're like halfway through the year. So that's pretty interesting. But like I said, I think the doors are closing up on that element of the game. The Beast Wars stuff is really just getting started, and they seem to be on fire. It's almost as if all they had to do was prime the pump. Hey, look, shout out to the guy who got me this shirt. I don't know who it was, but it was left here at Skullfest. I'm assuming it was a gift. Thank you. I love it. And I'm going to try to follow both of these releases closer. But at this point in time, they both look like viable options to me. Neither seem necessarily perfect, but whatever is. It will be interesting to see how it all rolls out. Alright, look, I almost emptied the clip on all my puns. And it's about Prime, right? Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, until next time, take care.